In Rothenburg, Germany, there is a settlement, Vosterfeld. In 2001, roughly 30 people lived in this settlement. So why does it attract so many tourists from across the world? Well, they come to see this house. Every couple of years, something strange happens. The house burns. The neighbors suspect arson. No one has ever been arrested. On the morning of 17th April 2023, the house is burning. Harald Ermel is standing by the side. It is despicable. It is not the first time, The kitchen burned down 10 years ago. He tells the reporters. Harald Ermel is a lawyer. He represents 61-year-old Armin Meiwes, who is serving a life sentence in Kassel. The crime happened here. This is his house. Just next to the charred debris, there is a parked green station wagon. On the window, it is written, Free Armin Meiwes.
Mein Name ist Armin Meiwes. Ich habe einen Mann auf dessen Wunsch hin getötet, geschlachtet und gegessen.
Armin Meiwes. He is the youngest of 3 boys, born to a woman named Waltred. Each child is from a different man. When Armin was 8, his father Gustav left for a younger woman. Over time, his brothers also left. Armin was left alone, just him and his mother. Life with Waltred is suffocating. She has grown to despise men and wants complete control over her son's life. She follows him on dates, sits silently in the back seat. She tags along on work trips. Armin will remain shackled to this house and this woman for the rest of his life. It is in this house that he will become one of the most famous men in Germany. He will earn the name the Rothenburg Cannibal.
Hände, Beine und Kopf haben Sie ja nicht verspeist. Die sind ja auch nicht eingefroren worden, oder?
Den Kopf nicht, nein.
Und die Hände und die Beine und die Füße auch nicht. Was haben Sie mit denen getan?
Ich hatte die eine Zeit lang zunächst noch in der Gefriertruhe liegen gehabt.
Let's get to know the victim. Parent Jürgen Brandes was born January 19, 1958 in Berlin. His father was a physician, his mother an anesthetologist. When Bernd was still young, tragedy struck. His mother died in a traffic collision. At first, it was ruled an accident, but after further investigation, the police ruled it a suicide. She couldn't handle the guilt of a fatal mistake that cost a patient their life. In a strange twist of fate, both these 2 men had issues with their mother. Armin Meiwes, a mother who will never leave, and Brandes, a mother who left too soon. In 1990, after coming out as a homosexual to his father, the 2 have never spoken again. He had an interest in sadomasochistic sex. He sought out male prostitutes, openly asking them to bite him during oral sex. In the fall of 1995, he met Emmanuel, a young sex worker. Brandes paid for his services, asking to be whipped and asked to cut off his entire penis. Emmanuel, of course, refused. How did these 2 men come across each other? After the death of his mother in 1999, something inside Armin Meiwes was set loose. By day, he worked as an IT specialist in Kassel. By night, he retreated into the vast, empty rooms of the family estate. He was completely and utterly alone. He stayed up late, reading, collecting, imagining. Then came the forums. Fooded, gourmet, cannibal cafe. The depravity was total. No fantasy, no image, no story could satisfy him for long. He was starving, and somewhere else in Germany, Bernd Jürgen Brandes was looking for someone to make his most secret wish come true. Their paths were about to cross. How does one even become interested in cannibalism? Summers in rural Vosterfeld exposed Armin Meiwes to the slaughter of cattle, poultry, hogs, and deer. By the age of 6, he had learned to gut even rabbits. The smell of blood, the feel of a butcher's knife in his hands, this became familiar. With few friends and a controlling mother, Armin created an imaginary companion, Frankie, modeled on a classmate. In his mind, consuming Frankie meant becoming one with him. As he grew older, Meiwes researched notorious killers like Fritz Hartmann and Jeffrey Dahmer, men whose crimes blood, murder, and consumption. He enacted his desires in private, covering himself in ketchup, hanging upside down to mimic slaughtered animals. When his mother died in September 1999, the final restraint was gone. His desires could finally take center stage. Armin had gone to explore various online forums devoted to death and cannibalistic fantasies. He went by the alias Frankie and the username Anthrophagus. He spoke plainly about his desire to kill and consume another person. He went on to post more than 60 ads seeking a willing victim. Some men responded, fantasizing about elaborate sadistic deaths, but all eventually backed out. One man, however, Matteo, agreed to be, and I quote, whipped to death, all while being nailed to a St. Andrew's cross. He went on to construct a slaughter room on the 2nd floor of his house. He takes pictures of the slaughter room and emails them to Matteo. However, he ultimately declined. On 5th February 2001, going by the username Cater99, Bernd Jürgen Brandes answered Armin's advertisement. I quote,
Cater99, still, I would have rather met you yesterday and felt your teeth. Anthrophagus, one can't have everything. There's still some time before you really feel my teeth. Cater 99, I hardly know what to expect. Have you slaughtered a man before? Antrophagus, unfortunately, only in my dreams, but in my thoughts I do it every night. Cater 99, so I'm the first? You have eaten human flesh before, or you haven't. Antrophagus, no, you don't exactly find it in the supermarket, unfortunately. Cater 99, how do you know if it will taste good to you, or that the blood won't make you sick? Cater 99, then I hope you won't wilt, that you can really see it through without a problem. Antrophagus, to bite into your penis will certainly not be easy. Living flesh is somewhat more resistant than fried, but one thing is certain, our dream will be fulfilled. Cater 99, for both our sakes, I hope that's true. I hope you have also already thought about what's to be done with the rest. Fulfilling the dream shouldn't become a nightmare for you. No one will know where I've disappeared to.
His boyfriend at the time, Rene J, recalled that Brandes was last seen in late February 2001. He had just bought new electronics, giving no hint that he was about to die. On the day before the meeting, Brandes sold his car, wiped all files from his computers, took a day off work under the pretense of a hair transplant in London, and even left a handwritten note in a cabinet, leaving all his property to his boyfriend. Why is Armin in prison? On the morning of 9th March 2001, Bernd Jürgen bought a train ticket from Berlin to Kassel. He paid in cash to leave no trace. He did not want to be found. Armin Meiwes and Brandes will meet at the train station. When the clock struck noon, it was time. They went to the slaughter room. They set up a camcorder to record the mutilation. Using a knife, he tried to castrate Brandes, but the blade was too blunt. On Brandes' request, he fetched a sharper knife from the kitchen.
So I just wanted to talk about knife skills and the particular cuts. In the kitchen, there are several different types of cuts that you are doing as a chef. So again, let's put our hands in the proper position. 3 fingers on the blade, 3 fingers on the handle, 2 fingers on the blade, and using the bear claw with our free hand. So if you are doing circle cuts, those are called where they're just you slice it straight down, and these are making circles. That would be called a rondelle cut.
And finally succeeded. The blood loss was very severe. They attempted to eat the severed genitalia raw, splitting the shaft in half, but it was too tough. Armin boiled and fried it with salt, pepper, wine, and garlic, but the meat shrank and got charred, becoming inedible. Disappointed, Brandes suggested,
Er sagt dann, ja, also wenn ich bis morgen früh durchhalte, dann essen wir meine Eier zum Frühstück.
At this time of the night, Brandes was bleeding heavily. Armin decided to bandage him and place him in a bath.
Dann eben kam ich dann wieder hoch. Er sagte mir, es ist ihm kalt, ob ich ihn in mein Bad einlassen könne.
Now, sometime during the night, Brandes woke up to go to the bathroom. He collapsed, leaving him dead.
Nachdem er nun tot war und eben wollte ich dann den Kopf abtrennen, habe ihn dann an der Decke entsprechend aufgehangen und dann entsprechend dieser Anleitung gemäß ausgeweidet, halbiert. Dann habe ich die beiden Körperhälften erstmal abgepult und gewaschen. Dazu jeweils dann runtergetragen in die Badewanne.
The video of the entire process lasted 4 hours and 19 minutes. Armin cut approximately 30 kilograms of Brandes' body and stored it in a freezer. 2 days later, on 12 March, Meiwes consumed his first piece of human flesh. He prepared it with olive oil, garlic, wine, salt, and pepper, and served it with Brussels sprouts and green pepper sauce. Accompanied it all with a South African red wine.
It tastes like pork, a bit more harsh, substantial.
He went on to bury the bones, the skin, and the innards in the garden. Over the following 10 months, Meiwes would go on to consume approximately 20 kilograms of Brandes' flesh.
Weil bei mir war es ja nicht so, dass ich denjenigen vernichten wollte, sondern der sollte ein Teil von mir sein.
Armin Meiwes was finally arrested on 10th December 2002. Meiwes confessed to the crime. Armin's trial began on 3rd December 2003 at the Kassel Regional Court presided over by Judge Volker Mutzer. The public prosecutor, Markus Koller, argued that the killing should be considered murder and disturbance of the peace of the dead. Consent alone did not absolve Mr. Meiwes. He claimed the killing had a sexual motive and thus it was murder. Meiwes had recorded the act and later masturbated to the footage. The defense argued that this qualified as a killing on demand according to Article 216 of the German Criminal Code. Mr. Rudolf Joseph Egg, the head of the Wiesbaden Criminology Central Office, explained that the prosecutors had the uphill task to prove that Meiwes' killing was sexually motivated. If it is purely a means to an end, a murder conviction could not stand. The court recognized Brandes' consent as a mitigating factor, and Meiwes was convicted of manslaughter in 2004, receiving a sentence of 8.5 years in prison. Now, at this point, one would think justice was served. End of story. 2 years later, after his initial conviction, Armin Meiwes returns to court. The Federal Court of Justice had demanded a new hearing, claiming that the first judge, Volker Mutzer, hadn't fully examined the murder's characteristics, and as a result, the sentence had been too lenient. The only reason he faced a life sentence was that later on, he masturbated while watching the video of the act, a fact prosecutors argued showed a sexual motive. The defense argued the case was simple. Armin Meiwes' sexual gratification only came later on while watching the 4-hour video of the slaughter. The actual killing, they insisted, was not sexually motivated. Professor Arthur Kreuzer of Gießen University, an authority in criminology, described the case as unique to legal history. Here's a quote from him. He says, "I cannot imagine a murder where the victim encourages the act to happen. Only with the internet could two perverted individuals, one a sadist, one a masochist, agree on every detail and carry it out with consent." The professor suggested that public outrage over the lenient sentence likely influenced the decision, and that's it. Armin Meiwes was sentenced to life in prison for the murder of Brent Jürgen Brandes. You might be wondering, why was the cannibal aspect never mentioned? Because in Germany, there is no specific criminal code that punishes cannibalism. However, one can be punished for disturbance of the dead. Closing thoughts, justice versus public outrage. I don't want this to go as me defending Armin Meiwes. Make no mistake about it, Armin Meiwes is a monster, and I do believe that given the opportunity, he would kill again to satisfy his desires. Now you have to remember, Armin Meiwes was the first modern cannibal in German history. Was it justice, or was the verdict shaped by the moral outrage of a shocked public?